YouTube. Today is Thursday, the 18th of June, 2026. My name is Francisco Gaffney, and this is my daily streaming all about governance, risk, compliance, and advisory boards. Today is a very delicate topic, if you may, and we have to address it. And things that I'm going to say today are not often commented, disclosed, shared, and I want you to understand that this is part of the biggest problems that happen later on, is because this particular topic today is not discussed upfront very clearly, is not documented very clearly. It starts to get confused and gnarled. The things start to get kind of confusing. So let's jump into it. It's very interesting what the perspective I'm going to mention to you, because actually many of the companies that I'm advising have these problems because they haven't addressed these particular topics at the beginning of the engagement, right? So this is something that actually are all related to how you place your company in terms of the systems. And the system, remember, is not hardware and software. It's not a CRM, it's not an ERP, it's not a marketing system or an email autoresponder system or the hardware laptops. No, it's not IT. Systems refers also to the things that actually make the governance, meaning actually how you drive the company, all how these risks are addressed, or how the prevention of these risks are addressed, and what the evidence you have, the compliance that actually you address the things that you have to address at the time you have to do it, and how you document it, right? So it seems boring, but actually these are the things that later on save you of so many problems, many problems. So let's dig right into it. And we have the advisory board operating system model today. And today particularly is about this, controls and resilience. And resilience, we spoke a couple of weeks ago specifically about resilience in this section. What makes resilience, or what makes a company resilient, it's not just surviving the next batch of problems, is how you document these things and how to prevent these things to happen, right? So these are your systems. So this is part of the advisory board work that does not always sound glamorous, as I mentioned, yeah, but it protects value, it protects your organization, protects your people, protects everybody. So the advisory board needs a systems around it, like the operation system that we have here. So we need a clear purpose, roles, boundaries, who is a chair, what is the mandate of the chair, of the advisors, which are the sponsors, and how we are going to measure all the things that are done. So that's what I developed this model, because I've been in too many advisory boards where everything was too informal. And without an operating system, the advisory board can become messy, mostly because systems are there to stop, prevent, and protect good people from creating accidental risks. And let me say that again. The systems are there to stop, prevent, and protect good people from creating accidental risks. So let's take a problem, or take a look at three problems with this. Problem number one is that the advisory board is starting to act like a decision-making board, and that is not the case ever. So if you have an advisory board, is to advise, is not to make any decisions, is not to make a company accountable for anything. So nobody may say it out loud, but this happens, and too often sometimes. Advisors speak with confidence, and executives take it as instructions. So the founder or yourself use the advisory board as a cover for a decision. And suddenly the advice and the authority are tangled. Is very dangerous, because advisory boards are not legally binding to the company. They don't have any responsibilities. That's part of the executive team and the non-executive directors, not the advisory board. So be careful when the things in terms of authority, the board or the boundaries of the authority is not very clear. We're going to address this later on, how to fix this. Problem number two is that the internal sponsors are weak. That means that the bridge between the business and the advisory board, if that person does not brief properly and follow up properly and hold internal ownerships, the advisory boards become detached from the real business, right? So it start to get a kind of a satellite meeting every month or every quarter, and it's why we are meeting, right? So that weakness also created a lot of friction, because then you start to get all these it's a kind of a fog. They say, well, we had that meeting about, and then and when you start to try to understand what that meeting was about, then you start to understand actually there's a weakness there. So it's not a strong advisory board that everybody's looking for the next meeting. And problem number three, the conflict and ethics are left too informal. It's fine because advisory board has no responsibility or direct responsibility into the company, but informality is very dangerous too. So advice can be relaxed, but not informal. And what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to do this as a very Steve Robson rules, but advisors often have networks, interest, investment, and relationships. That is normal. But if the business does not set rules for conflicts, confidentiality, and engagement, trust can be damaged very quickly. So you don't want that to happen either way, so for your company or for the advisors or the other way around. So, in other words, imagine a group of external advisors meets every month. The discussion could be strong. The founder likes the challenge. The executive likes the challenge. The team take notes, but there is no written role boundary, no escalation route, no conflict process, and no clear owner for follow up. And 3 months later, what happened? A decision goes wrong. And somebody, and mark my words, somebody's going to say, but the advisory board has supported it, right? That is a very dangerous statement, because that already indicates that actually there was all the three problems I mentioned earlier are not clearly designed. So it's a weak relationship, there is no boundaries, and people are pretty much assuming the authority is sitting with the advisory board. That is where trouble starts. So you say, what does this have to do with performances, governance, risk, and compliance, and assets? It have everything to do, because actually you are influencing all the things. This is part of your system. That's how part of your operation of your company, your advisory board. So that what is I mentioning all these things are not very often are mentioned, or are mentioned when the problem starts, not beforehand. So it's very, very good practice to start to look into this earlier. So as a board advisor, what I propose is the following: create a clear advisory board charter before the first serious meeting. Remember, we were discussing this week, the first thing that you have to do is to your anchor chairman, the person that's going to be kind of the lighthouse of where the attention should be with the board, helping you as a founder, as an executive team, to put the advisory board together based on the project that you're looking for into the milestone for the organization. Could be commercial acceleration, could be predictability, could be the same systems of how we are going to govern this company. You are the governor of the company, not the advisory board, but the advisory board can help you to have this clarity. So again, it doesn't not need to be a heavy document. It needs to be 100% clear. It should say, and this is the suggestion, it should say what the advisory board is there to do. It should say what is not there to do. It should name the internal sponsors. It should define the chair's role. It should explain how agendas are set. It should explain how advice is recorded too, right? So you start to build the evidence of the meeting, the minutes of the meeting. It should explain how conflicts are handled too. It should explain what gets escalated to the executive team or to the formal board, your non-executive board. This is, you might say, okay, more paperwork, more admin, more operation procedures. No, this is not bureaucracy. It is protection, and you have to put it there. By the way, there are many templates already online that are already approved by certain bodies in terms of a few pages that put all this together, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The chair can help you to find this documentation. There are certain bodies in every country, the advisory boards or the non-executive directors, etc., that have some templates already there that actually have this half or more than half of the way of this process already done for you. So the other thing to consider, they make the advisory board safer for everyone in the room. So that's the point. Advisors know their role. The executives know their role. The chair knows what they are holding. So the support knows what must be happen after the meeting. So this is, people knows what they have to do, but actually it's very easy to delegate responsibilities when things go wrong. So to avoid that, that's why you have your governance, your risk, and your compliance, which is this, is where you say, well, we already agreed that these are the boundaries, so then don't bring these responsibilities where the place is somewhere else. It's not on the advisory board. And this is not to escape responsibilities. It's just to make sure that actually people understand exactly what is the advisory board for. This is where governance, risk, and compliance becomes very practical, right? So governance is a boundary, if you may. Risk is what happens if the boundary fails, like if this is overflowing. And compliance is a discipline around conflicts, confidentiality, and evidence, right? So you have the GRCs there. And performance in your business is where the advisory board is producing a useful contribution. So you can look into that too, right? And all these three together, these four things together, governance, risk, compliance, and evidence, and performance, becomes part of your intellectual property too. That is how you set things up in your organization to work and produce results that other organizations cannot produce. So a founder-led business with 50 employees or more than 10 million revenue cannot rely on informal governance forever, and this sometimes happens. It needs a grown-up advice without creating a grown-up confusion, right? So you don't want to create more confusion as the business evolves. So the advisory board's model helps by giving the advisory board a home within the operating system. The advisory board is not about the business. It's not outside reality. It sits in the rhythm of the things that you want to do, the milestones that your company wants to achieve, the scaling or predictability or your systems that manage everything, or the transformation, the reinvention, and the innovation of your business for the future. Now, what do you gain working with me? Three things: business outcomes, differentiators, and risk reductions. In terms of outcomes, it's an advisory board with a clean authority lines. People know what advice means, who decides, and who follow up the works, right? So it's a very, very clean design model, and this is part of the model that you see in your screen now. So the differentiator is the operating discipline. We do not build advisory board as a list of names, as we were discussing this week. We build a chair role first to support the sponsor rhythm, the scope, the dashboard, and the member fit around the business or what the business needs. You get international advisory board expertise, faster implementation than hiring a single executive, lower overheads than a big consulting firms, no talent locked in, and you can swap members every 6 months. That's a big difference compared to other advisory boards. And the risk reduction is accountability confusion or de-confusion. When advice, decision-making, and governance are blurred, the trust weakens, unfortunately. When the system is clear, advice becomes safer and more useful. So one action you can take today, and it's doable in 30 minutes or less: write 2 short sentences. The first sentence is, our advisory board can, what can do, right? The second sentence is, our advisory board cannot, what cannot do. So you can, or the advisory board can, and the advisory board cannot, right? If the second sentence, they cannot, is hard to write, probably your boundary is not clear enough yet. So probably that's a good starting point to understand if the governance, risk, and compliance and that performance is there for your organization from the advisory board and vice versa. So let's pause it here for today and reconvene tomorrow, because Tomorrow, Friday, we finish with Edge, which is your transformation, your reinvention, your innovation, how to make your company relevant for the future, right? So is the left-hand side of the advisory board operating system. We will look at the advisory board for change, technology, AI, efficiency, and reinventions without losing the full operating system. And if you are a founder or executive team or non-executive director with a business of 50 employees or more than 10 million, 100 million too, in revenue, and if you want an advisory board that strengthens governance rather than blurring it, let's have a 30-minute chat. So I would love to understand where you're coming from, where you are today, what you're looking for, and where you like to go, so we can board that brings you 26% revenue increase and 18% more productivity, with a faster implementation than hiring one executive, a lower overhead than a big consulting firm, no talent locked in, swappable members every 6 months to make it agile and on topic of the problems that you want to resolve for your company. Right. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.